It's the time of the year when people are craving a vacation. I definitely am. Maybe one of your colleagues just came back from some tropical paradise and while flaunting their golden tan show you all these incredible pictures of exotic beaches and make your longing for a summer getaway almost unbearable. And if you're dying to get a break away from the city, then you're definitely not alone. In an Ipsos survey, 79% of respondents said they really need a vacation this year, which is up by 8% from last year. Most city dwellers and 9-to-5 workers are simply burned out from their demanding jobs and hectic lives. And most Canadians realize how important it is to go on vacation at least once a year. Not just to indulge in delicious food and pamper themselves, not that there's anything wrong with that, but for actual health reasons. Daily work pressures can spike stress hormones as if you're dealing with a real threat. Taking a vacation can lower these hormones, bolstering your immune system and reducing susceptibility to illnesses like heart disease or cancer. Time away from work is also crucial for your mental health. After recharging properly, you can return back to work more creative and more productive. By the way, are you going for a summer vacation this year? Let me know in the comments down below. One problem for most people is, of course, affordability. Unless your vacation is financed by 25 million or so taxpayers. But with some smart planning and strategizing, you can actually slash your vacation costs by 50 to 60%. And later on, we'll talk about one saving tip that I used that is rarely talked about that can save you 20 to 30% of your accommodation expenses. So stay tuned. Now, can Canadians actually afford to travel? The sad news is that many can't. 40% Canadians blame inflation as the reason for not going on vacation this year, which is up 8% from last year. 32% say they plan to travel at another time of the year, and 27% say, I prefer spending my free time at home, which if you ask me, ultimately boils down to cost considerations. After paying higher rents, higher mortgages, 10 to 20% more at the grocery checkout, there is only little left for a $4,000 vacation. That's how much Canadians spend on average on their last one. And remember, our taxes still need to pay for Trudeau's elaborate vacation, which cost Canadians $230,000. And if that's not enough, travel costs are also rising. Airline tickets in the US have shot up by 25%, outpacing inflation. And even domestic flights in Canada are beyond recognition. Prices for domestic flights from July to September are 14% higher than they were 12 months ago. And this is the result of one, long-term pent-up demand after the COVID pandemic, and number two, little competition in Canada's airline industry, which is basically dominated by Air Canada and WestJet. One-way flights from Calgary to Vancouver climbed 27% to $580 on average. Montreal to Toronto routes saw a 36% increase to $781. Tickets for an Edmonton to Vancouver trip surged 82% to $737. And to keep up with these astronomical prices, a fat savings account would come handy. But on top of not having any kind of savings, many Canadians still carry over holiday debt from the previous years and have still not paid it off this year. And despite not being able to afford a vacation or the vacation that they want, many Canadians still do it anyway, whip out their plastic and put it on credit. For context, in July 2023 alone, Canadian residents took 757,000 return trips overseas, up 5% from the same month the previous year. And this year, it's likely to increase. This summer, 40% of Canadians say they plan to go on vacation, which is 15% more than last year, while 23% are still considering it. Perhaps because they are legitimately concerned about what it will do to their finances. According to Equifax, Canadians' credit card debt hit a record high at about $21,000. And vacation debt is mostly driven by the younger generation, many of whom, not all of course, live according to YOLO and FOMO.
The VP of Ipsos Public Affairs says age as opposed to income dictates how likely you are to want to splurge. Younger, less affluent respondents say they're willing to break the bank to get away.
There may be some implications for the line of credit or the credit card, but younger people leading the way in vacation intentions and will simply find a way to do it. Budget be damned.
Social pressures also play a role in vacation decisions. Something called the bandwagon effect that says that people are doing things just because other people are doing them also. For example, choosing similar vacation destinations as their colleagues rather than making decisions based on their own preferences and needs and, of course, budget. And this can lead to really bad financial decisions. The previous pandemic and the ongoing cost of living crisis has been really tough on Canadians. And taking a vacation can feel like a much-needed escape from all of it, or a sort of antidote to recover from it. But ironically, splurging on a vacation you can't afford just ends up creating another crisis. What's worrying is that 1 in 4 Canadians who can't afford it go into debt to finance their vacation. And once they return home, they face the stress of dealing with their vacation bills. But many Canadians are also avoiding this financial trap. Among Canadians who are planning to go on vacation, more than a third are scaling back to more cost-sensitive options. Many Gen Zs and millennials are postponing their trip to later in the year when prices are much lower. Almost 60% of Canadians simply decide to stay within the country, and even then, they plan to spend $2,400 on just lodging and accommodations. 28% plan to travel within Canada to another province. I mean, how many people from Ontario have never been to Alberta before, including myself? 30% even just plan to stay within their province. 15% decide to travel to the US, and only 12% will actually travel to Europe and 9% to South America. Another adjustment that Canadians make is also the time spent on vacation. Only 12% plan to go for more than 3 weeks. 5% for 3 weeks, 30% for 2 weeks, another 30% for only 1 week, and the remaining 23% for less than a week. By the way, it's getting really hot these days, and if you're craving iced coffees and teas but don't want to spend $5 to $6 every day on them, then you might want to get one of these iced tea/coffee brewers. I got one 3 years ago and it made me hundreds of delicious icy drinks. Check out the Amazon link to that in the descriptions down below. Well, apart from travel costs and financial situation, there's another reason why Canadians do not take that typical 1-month-long European vacation. A quick diversion here. Some people have no money but time to travel. Others have money to spend but no time. But the fact is that many Canadians are not just money poor but also vacation poor. Canadian workers get fewer paid vacation days than nearly any other country in the industrialized world. The average Canadian worker only receives 10 paid vacation days each year, tying Canada for second last out of 21 OECD countries in North America, Europe, and Asia. Compare that with Germany with 20 days of paid vacation, or France with 30 days of vacation. And in case you think that all those vacation days makes them less productive, then you might want to watch my recent video on Canada's declining productivity. In any case, if you do decide to go on summer vacation, how can you do that without breaking the bank? One way, of course, is to just stay within your own province and explore charming cities and towns. For example, in Ontario, you have Ancaster, Elora, and Guelph, and many other places. Take the GO train and benefit from their discount fares, for example, the weekend pass that only costs $10, and avoid all that stress that comes with international travel. Something that's really important but that many people just don't do is to have a yearly budget. Once you break down all your budget items, you know exactly how much you can allocate to traveling. It's also possible, although difficult, I must admit, to carve out some more money. To set aside money for a vacation, many Canadians actually reduce other expenses, such as groceries and entertainment. Avoiding high season is another great idea because everything from flights to accommodation is usually cheaper after August, and in October and November, you're sure to get a deal. Plus, you can beat the crowds and enjoy your vacation with less stress. If you haven't started yet, make sure you sign up for a travel reward credit card and Air Miles program so you can use that to pay for hotels and flights in the future. And here's an important note on attractions. They cost a ton. On my recent trip to Istanbul, I was shocked to find museum entrances as expensive as 30 euros, and that adds up if you multiply that by 4 as a family. So don't feel like you have to visit everything. Pick a few that really mean something to you. And one precious tip that is seldom talked about is that when you rent an Airbnb for your vacation, make sure that you try and negotiate the rate. I recently booked an Airbnb for my upcoming trip within Ontario and asked the owner if she could possibly give me a discount and reduce the rate by 20%, from $1,050 for 3 nights to $850 for a whole house. And she said yes. Not all, of course, but many Airbnb owners will be open to that. If you show them your appreciation and tell them how much you love their place but that it's simply not within your budget range, and of course having a stellar Airbnb rating yourself doesn't hurt, they might agree to reduce the price just to get you booked. And for more tips to save on traveling, check out this video next.